gentlemen, it is your boy, Kev X, and I'm here today to discuss a particular topic today, which would be what's worse, the modern man or the modern woman? As we can see that there's a lot of different things that are going on today in the space of the dating world in regards to whether it's the modern woman or the modern man, which is causing the worst tension amongst each other. And if I had to conclude and say that it is pretty much an uneven balance, that they're both equally at fault, but I would say that one is leaning towards the favor of an individual who is more susceptible to deception. And I would say that that individual would be the female side, with males coming close right behind in regards to the dysfunctionality. But I would say that they're both equally as at fault. But that's not to say that one is more over the other, because one is more over the other due to mass media indoctrination, um, information that is conditioning the minds of many. And so that's why I feel as though that's the case when it comes down to that. A very sticky situation, I would say. I'm getting a lot of different notifications in the background, so please forgive me. I'm going to have to get an official setup as I am discussing such controversial statements. And so that's why it makes me wonder, who is at more at fault? Is it the female side or is it the male side? Because I both see flaws with both, which is to say that there is a persisting issue that has taken place, and yet no one is talking about those things that need to be addressed, the actual issues to get to the meat of the problem. And the specifics of what is being put out there in the space, because it's a clear war of male versus female, when male versus female shouldn't be a versus at all. It should be a team. It should be something of companionship, something that is a complement, not in competition, because there's a clear difference, not just based off of our appearance, but based off of certain behavior patterns, certain characteristics, certain biological drivers. I mean, the list goes on and on and on when you break down the differences between male and female. I mean, this has been known since the beginning of time, but for whatever reason, we are trying to combine them as though they're across the board even. It's an even playing field. They're exactly the same, no difference whatsoever. And that's where the perversion and that's where the confusion lies, is that you're trying to create a situation that can't be created. And that's why these type of conversations are so hard to have, because the inevitable is always going to be present, which is that male and female are exactly different, polar opposites. For everything that is going in the direction of what is considered to be equal per se, would have to be something across the board of the same. And that's where we get into so much trouble with trying to battle something that is clearly cannot be equal or the same. But for whatever reason, we continue this war on something that will never, ever happen, which is trying to even the playing field for something that is designed instinctively to be different. You got males wanting to act like females. You got females want to act like males. How can you ever get to any harmonious, rhythmatic way of interacting with one another, being on the same page, if you're trying to fight against what the natural order is? And that's what I'm all about, is establishing the natural order, the way things are supposed to be in its proper place. Because a lot of people get the negative connotation to believe that hierarchy is somehow, some way, a thing to be have a negative attitude towards, as far as that, of control. But hierarchy, its overall disposition is based upon things that are placed in its proper order. It's no different from, say, for instance, you have milk. Everybody knows that we can all agree that milk is supposed to be placed in the refrigerator. That's where it goes. But the minute I or anybody else decides to take that milk and put it in a pantry, what happens to that milk? It's going to spoil, because that's not where it belongs. It's not put in its proper place. That's why hierarchy is important. Things that are put in its proper order, and the order in which it operates, is going to give you the most desirable outcome in the end. And that's why it's crucial to have order and hierarchy within any structure, any relationship, any interaction, so that it goes smoothly. But the problem lies is that, like the analogy that I gave, people say, screw it, I want to do what I want. I don't want to put it in the refrigerator. I want to take the milk and place it in the pantry, simply because I don't like the idea of having these rigid boundaries in order to maintain a certain health level, because you've made a conscious decision to say that I don't want to do what is considered to be the proper and orderly fashion, because it's too rigid and controlling. That's what you find. That you'll have individuals that say that it's too controlling when it comes down to things being in its place in its proper order. We understood this even in mathematics, that things have to be placed in its proper order of operation in order to get a desirable outcome. The minute you place something in its wrong order, you're going to get the wrong equation, and you're going to create a dysfunctional outcome. And that's what ends up happening from that, is when you have males and females, or women and men, operating in the manner that doesn't go what is aligned with one another to be a complement. Did you know that when you were to take a woman's brain and you take a man's brain and you put them on top of each other, and you know what ends up happening from that? Is that they sit so comfortably placed together, as though it's like a puzzle, that it's fit in to be like a glove, like to fit like a glove, where it literally goes and sits on each other, that it was literally instinctively designed to be as one. Even though they're not the same size, but the way that it sits in its, how comfortable it is, that's what it causes. This is J Gemini 89. How old am I? I am 31 years old. So that's why it's crucial, and it's very, very important that we create solutions in a way that not only male and female can come together as one, but also that we can understand the differences and why they're important, and expound on those differences, and use it to your benefit. Instead of seeing one as superior over one another, but take those differences and utilize them to benefit one another. But the minute the individual of either party decides that they're going to step out of order from what is properly and what is considered to be um, the correct way and the manner, you will never, ever have desirable outcomes that you will be looking for in the end. And that's why it's important that these boundaries and these structures are put into place for a reason, not because somebody is trying to take control over what a person does with their life. These are all to be placed in a way so that it creates balance, where it creates some type of rhythm. You ever have a dance partner and you could be on beat, but the minute that dance partner goes off beat, what happens? It throws off the whole rhythm of how you're supposed to interact and move with one another. It's a feeling of balance. It should be able to flow like the wind or flow like a stream, that it's smooth. It goes through. It doesn't even have to be said. You know, there's a saying that says, what's understood doesn't need to be said. And that's the natural imperative that male and female have with one another. But not until modern times and modern technology has made us question our abilities in order to create a harmonious relationship, that we are better together than we are apart. And all of the different mass media, information, content out there is moving us further and further and further and further away, and creating us more independent of one another, which has zero benefits to you or I. Because it's clear as day, even based off of from a biological standpoint, that everybody that is alive and conscious and able to breathe and be cognizant of their environment, I believe the word is called sentia, that is aware of your life, of you being alive, guess what? In order for you to be alive, it took two individuals to bring you into this world. And that goes for male and female. Your entire existence is predicated on two individuals, and that's of the opposite sex. So it goes to show you that even life in and of itself requires two. So therefore, it's pretty rather foolish into believing that somehow, some way, that one is more important than the other or uplifting one more than the other when it takes two to tangle. But that's not to say that hierarchy in the levels of that both important role is still necessary, that somebody still has to lead. Somebody still has to lead in a position in order to take control of the situation and give direction. Just the same way as far as you have a leader and then you have a follower. That is a symbiotic relationship amongst the two, that you need both. There's no way to get around that. You need a leader and you need a follower. Those two, just like you have a male and you need a female in order to create a life. That's not a coincidence. What's up, Kev? What up, K Salis 85? So I'm just pretty much trying this out, trying to give y'all some more, dropping some gems, because I see a lot of things in the YouTube space that's like, man, it's got me itching to come back, to drop these, articulate the things that are not being said out in the universe of YouTube. Because there's a lot of things that I agree with, but then there's a lot of things that I feel as though there are missing key elements in order to solve the solution. Because what I'm all about is bringing complete order of the natural male and female imperative. He said, I hear you, bro. Preach. You know what I mean? It's a lot of charlatans, a lot of pretenders out there. You know, you got a lot of dudes pandering to women. You got a lot of women pandering to men. Because as much as we talk about pandering, you got women that pander to men as well, just trying to call themselves, being in men's spaces. But then you fail to execute what you actually believe in, or what you claim you believe in, and vice versa. I just can't deal with the far left extremes and the far right extremes. you know, I'm not on either side, to be honest. The only side that I'm on is on the side of truth. That's the most important thing to me, is truth at the end of the day. And that's what I encourage people to not just go into a space and take your bias because they look like you or they have the like skin. It means nothing if this person is not alike up here. As far as I'm concerned, if we're not alike of the mind, me and you are incompatible. It don't make a difference as far as your background, your religion, when it comes to what you know. If we're not aligned up here, all of that is completely irrelevant. So therefore, I can pick apart even a person that I don't necessarily like or disagree with, that you should be able to have the ability to separate truth from the things that actually are reasonable from the things that you deem to be not true. But the problem that I have a problem with is that you just personally don't like this individual altogether. And so therefore you can't see between the lines of what a person in a message or what they're saying to be true, even if you don't personally like them. And that's what I'm saying. You can find truth anywhere. The truth is colorless. The truth is genderless. The truth has no what do you call it? Salary bracket. There's bums. I'm in this parking lot coming back and forth. You can find a crackhead that may say something true, even though he's strung out on crack. He still has the ability to say some truth, and that doesn't take away from the truth, not his truth, but the actual truth of what's being said. Um, that you can take away from that, and that's the most important thing, that individuals that they can't, it doesn't resonate with them. They have to take an extreme side simply because their personal feelings are involved with this individual. It just don't work that way, you know. And I've had conversations where, with certain women where they have a gripe simply because they don't like that guy on the YouTube and how his personality and this, that, and the third is just like, that doesn't take away from the message of what a person is saying. And that's another thing that we end up falling into the trap of, is tone policing and feeling as though, you don't like the way somebody's tone sounds, but it doesn't take away from the message of what's being said. A person can easily talk to you in a very calm manner, very respectable manner, and still call you out your name. But he said it in such a way that was pleasant to hear. But it didn't change the fact that his message of what he said, where I said that you're a piece of ish, or you're nothing, but you're worthless. Me saying that in a calm tone is not going to change the message of that being insulting towards that person. And that's where we get into this rabbit hole of getting our feelings involved and not looking at the actual message of what did this person literally say? What came out of his or her mouth? And that's a problem that individuals have to check it within themselves and get an understanding of, am I really consciously collecting my thoughts properly, where I can reason, logic, and true rationale thinking when it comes down to these type of topics at hand. And so that's why it's super duper important that you got to watch your thoughts, and you have to really be careful with the things that comes out of your mouth. That's another thing, is not controlling your mouth and not being cognizant of your words that you speak and thinking before you actually speak. It is crucial to not just say things out there because you literally cannot take it back. Once it's out there, that's it. There's no coming back from that. And so you have to really, really collect your thoughts properly so that you accurately speak. The things that you say that are of great meaning. Once upon a time, that was very crucial. The words, the tongue, are the things that come out of your mouth, that you don't just say things, just mutter them off. I hear several different females and several different males just utter things that are just complete foolish. And if you really broke down what they said, you would come to the conclusion of knowing that that was completely idiotic. There was no rhyme or reasoning to the things that you just said. Nothing. You just said a thought that literally caused nothing. I got nothing out of that. There was no benefit to what you just said. It didn't move the goalpost any further or taking it back any less than what you were giving out there. So it's just like, it's sad, truly sad, but it is what it is. But I'm just basically testing this out, trying to collect my thoughts. This is kind of just random, me throwing it out there with this particular topic to see, how well that I do with um, coming up with these topics at hand and seeing how y'all respond to it. So in the near future, be on the lookout for more informative, thought-provoking, prolific uh, topics at hand, and we'll basically go from there. So y'all take it easy. I'm out.